Welcome back to Patman Garage. We are digging into the fuel system on the Mach1 Coyote swap now. My name's Patrick, if you hadn't met me before. I appreciate y'all stopping by. So this is a dual fuel pump system, and I'll throw up a diagram of what we're after here. It's a 04 Mach1 Gen 2 Coyote. It's going to be a return fuel system that we're adding to the vehicle. So part of it we're going to need to use the factory feed line and splice into that on both ends, and then add a regulator and add a return line, and I will bring you all along for the ride as we go along with it. So the long hose is return, and then the short hose is the pressure from the regulator to the fuel line, I believe. And then we got all kinds of different AN fittings that came with the kit. There's about 12 different ones. So we will figure out what goes where. Clamps, some more AN fittings, and we have the big regulator. So like I said, I'm going to start getting all this stuff out and figure out what goes where, and then I will show you what's going on. So starting by organizing what we have, we got 8 AN fittings, which are this push straight hose. That guy, kind of a flared barb. So we got 2 of those. And we got 8 AN that's threaded. And we got 2 -6s. One's I guess an adapter from 6 to 8, and then one's a 6 to 6. And we got 2 more of the push straight connectors that are AN 6s. So we'll get. I'll start looking at instructions and figure out what goes where. But I kind of wanted to get an idea of what exactly we had in this kit. And then there's another bag that was some other parts. So, but it was bagged separately, so we're going to keep it the way that is for now and start looking at instructions. So I got these instructions pulled up. I will put a link in the description down below for where to get to these instructions. But so that individual bag that I showed you earlier, in one of these guys, it was labeled as LP, so low pressure stock line to 8 AN. So this guy is going to go on the factory fuel rail, or from the Cobra, the 4.6 side. So that should just slide on there until it clips. I want to lubricate the O-rings before I press that on there, but that's what that guy's going to do. So then somewhere in this area we will have to mount the regulator. It says on the firewall, it's getting pretty crowded in here. I don't really know where we're going to mount it on the firewall, but we have about this much room to play with before we have to modify this line or something. But I might be able to just make a bracket off of the kind of wish I didn't cut the cut the back of that the shaker bracket so short, but somewhere in here we'll have to add a regulator. Also included in this bag was the hard line for the fuel rail side. So it was in this little box guy, and it's 2 pieces that are threaded together. So one of them's going to sit behind this. One of them's going to sit behind this flange, this lip, and then this guy will press on and then thread into it, and that'll squeeze down on the. There should be the O-ring inside of here, and that'll squeeze so that it doesn't slide off as well. So we'll get this guy tightened down. So I'm going to need 2 wrenches for that. And then this will be our 8 AN pressure hose that's going to run to the regulator. Okay, working on building the pressure hose that's going to go from the regulator to the fuel line, and got my first connection on, and that thing is a mother to push on there. Holy crap. But my crimp connector on there, I used my CV axle pliers. I'll show you what those look like, that are designed to squeeze on both sides while pushing down in the middle. So we'll get this thing mocked up for length and fitment, and so we may need to cut it, and I don't want to press these dudes on here and then have to try to take one off. All right, so I got that side just kind of stuck on there. I have not tightened it down yet, but we're going to take a look at this other side. So to go from the push-on fitting, which is what we did on the first one, where you have a push fitting that goes into the hose, and then you have a clamp over that. So to go from the 8AN female on that side to the you'll need a male on the regulator, so there's a second adapter we need for that, which looks like this guy. I had to pop the O-ring on it because it was not on. So this guy will go in the side of the regulator port like that. I will get that guy snugged down as well, but that's also going to change our length. So assuming I'm going to mount this guy somewhere in this ballpark, my pressure line is about a foot too long. So I need to start figuring out exactly where I'm going to put this guy, so that way we can start dialing in some lengths before we cut. I don't want to cut it and then decide I want to move it somewhere else. Well, I have to say this is the first thing I've been disappointed with so far. The regulator came with this nice bracket to bolt to, I guess, wherever on the firewall, but it didn't come with any hardware to go between the bracket and the regulator. I think it's some sort of coarse thread, machine thread. I honestly don't know 100%, but I dug around in a parts bin until I found something that worked with it. And then my particular bolts, the Allen key is a standard hex size, so that also makes me think it's a standard thread, not a metric. But anyways, finally got something to fit for it, and we'll figure out exact location where we're going to have this guy live. And then we probably also need to make the return line come off of this guy and figure out how that's going to route down and out before we finalize this location and cut our pressure hose. Okay, I got my 6AN return built, and I was going to show you my pliers. So they have provisions for doing CV axles to do much bigger torque. You can bypass the handles with a breaker bar. But if you can see the jaw part, it's going to squeeze, and then the pin tool comes up in the middle. So that's how you get that squeeze and get the press down in the middle. So it doesn't take a whole lot of effort on a smaller clamp and smaller hose like this, but there we go. We are in good shape there. We'll get this return installed on the regulator and then drop the hose down the firewall. All right, I got my fuel return hose run down through the where the factory fuel line came down. I just have it kind of routed in through there. So no big deal. And then this will just come sit in this area somewhere, and we'll get the regulator installed on it and then see what looks most natural, and then we can make a cut on this guy. So before we build this pressure hose, we need to slide the clamp on the hose first, because it will not fit on the hose or fit over the fitting once we put the fitting into the hose. So just make sure that's on the hose before you get started, and then we'll get this dude pressed on there and then clamp it down. We're getting wrapped up on the fuel hoses video here, so I appreciate y'all checking out a video of mine, and I will catch you in the next one.